What's up, everybody? So we're back out in the shop with another Shop Talk Tuesday, and in this episode we are actually working on a knife. We're going to be working on the 5160 Camp EDC. Now, originally this was out of 8670, this guy right here. So I went ahead and redid it because this particular one developed a crack right here. So I am going to end up finishing that build, and we're going to actually beat the heck out of it and see if I can end up making that crack get any bigger. And if I don't, then cool, I'll have just a fun knife to have around the shop. But I'm still going to show you all that process. Now with this one, we need to do a few steps to it to get it to the next steps. So with this, we need to go ahead and do our normalizing cycles, and then we need to do our heat treat on it. We got to temper it, and then we're going to go ahead and get it sanded and get the actual finish that's going to go on here, which is going to be an acid etch and stonewash. I really like the way the acid etch and stonewashes look whenever we have the texture go into them. So it'll be nice clean bevels, acid etch, stonewash, and I think that's going to give it a real cool look when we're pairing it up with the handle materials that we're going to be using. And in this episode, if I can, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the handle material, like at least the profile of it, so you can kind of see how it's going to stack on here. We are going to have an exposed liner that comes out front right here, so there's going to be an area that's exposed, and then they're going to have the handle scales past that, so that's going to be really cool. And I'm using a material that I haven't used on a knife yet, so that'll be fun. Guys, let's go ahead, let's jump into this, and let's get this thing heat treated so that we can then move on to the next steps. Let's get it. So we got our 65 HRC file here. So with it being that hard, we definitely want to do 400 degrees for the tempering, and then we're going to do 2 cycles of 2 hours at that 400 degree temp. That'll bring that hardness down quite a bit. This is way too hard for a good EDC camp knife that might be batoned through something or anything like that, so we need to bring that down quite a bit. And we're going to do that, put it in the oven, let it go ahead and temper, and go from there. So one of the things that y'all don't typically see is in between the quench and the oven, I'll go ahead and hit the bevels with a Scotch-Brite belt. And this just takes a lot of this stuff off of here, some of the decarb and things like that, and the scale. I want to take just a little bit of that off, clean up the bevels a little bit, then put it in the oven, and that way I can really see what I'm working with, and it'll also make it to where I don't have to mess with it later. Now I want to show y'all something. If you look at this, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, he over-tempered it. It's all purple. How in the world? Okay, so even though I did a little wipe down with acetone on there, there was still oil left on here. And it's going to give you this look. So with this, I'll show y'all something. So we've got 60 HRC file right here. So 60. We still catch just a smidge with the 60 here. You know, I was able to get some scratches on here with the 65, but we're still catching a little bit with the 60, not much. We absolutely don't catch with the 55 right there. So I put this in between that 55 and 60, but I'm going to show you how tough this still is. So this is a pretty fine edge right there. It's not very beefy, not very thick. You see that? Shaven steel, okay? Still nice and fine. Not catching anything. And that was shaven steel. So don't ever think that because you did, you got a little purple on here that you absolutely ruined it. A lot of times that is just oils from your hands or from the quench. So always be willing to test it with things like hardness testers and stuff like that before you go panicking and going and reheat treating your knife and risking warping it or something like that. So there you go. Now we just need to go ahead, start hand sanding this and getting it ready for the actual finish that we're going to do, the acid etch and stonewash. So what I'll typically do is I'll go through and cut all my different grits of sandpaper down into manageable squares like this, so that all I got to do for each pass, I'll sand with this, and then all I got to do is rotate it one more time and then sand, and I still end up with a little extra to be able to hold on to. So just like that, and you only need it to be wide enough to fit the blade, but go ahead and cut them all down. And then basically all we're going to do during this process is, as we're going up the grits, the first one I'm going to be sanding back and forth because my grinding lines are this way. So I'm going to be sanding this way to get rid of those grinding lines. And then on the next pass, I'm going to sand against that a little bit. And then on the next pass, go back and forth. And then this way, kind of just working it to where we're counteracting each grit as we go up, and we're erasing the sanding lines from the different directions. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go 220, well technically 120, 220, 320, 400, then 600. If at any time I feel like that I don't need to do one of these grits because it's already sanding pretty good, I'll skip that. So I might do 120, 220, 400, 600, or however it may be, but I'm going to go ahead and cut them all because, I'll need them later if I need to. But we're going to go ahead, sand this up to where we feel it's nice and smooth, and then we're going to start the acid etching process. So let's get after it. can see here what we're trying to do is you've got lines going this way. So with the 120, we sanded out the grinding lines. Now we're going to come up this way and we're going to sand out these back and forth lines right here. And we're going to do that by, again, coming across those at an angle. And then once this is done, we'll go back and forth again, and we're just going to be erasing lines as we go through until we get to a higher grit, and then we're going to go ahead and etch it. Now we're going to be switching to the foam backer, and we're going to go ahead and start sanding with the 320 grit. I'm actually probably going to stop at 320. I thought I was going to go higher than that, but it seems like it's going to actually be the right finish that I want. So we're going to use, on this foam backer, it's got a soft side and a little bit harder side. And if you're ever wondering what these are, this is for wet sanding vehicles. We just got two different sides, but we're going to go on here with the 320. Now we're going to be sanding this direction, because we already did. First one was this direction, second one was angled. This time we're going to go this way. And the reason why I'm using the foam backer is it's going to soften up this transition from the bevels to the flats up here. I still want a crisp plunge line, but I want the texture of this just to flow into the bevels once we actually do the acid etch and stonewash. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we get to that point. Well, now that we have our hand sanding done and our maker's mark on here, we can go ahead and acid etch it. Now, of course, we're going to be acid etching and stone washing this. So it's going to go into the acid, hang out for about 5 minutes. I'm going to take it out, clean it off, go back in the acid, about another 5 minutes, take it out, clean it off. Then we're going to put it in our little stone washing container here, shake it up, get our stone wash done. Alright, so we've acid etched it, got it all nice and dark, cleaned it off. Now we're going to go ahead and do the stone wash solution, which is just some little aquarium rocks in here with a whole bunch of WD-40. Just get it inside here. This is a pretty big knife to be sticking inside this thing, so we're going to get it in there. Gonna work it in. Now, because it's a hair too big, I'm just gonna go over it with some paper towel. Shake it around. We only really need to do this for about a minute, and the whole point is just to get it stone washed. And all you got to do, if you're gonna do this method, go a few different ways so that you're not making the same scratch marks over and over again. You want it to go all over the place so it gets a nice look to it. So that's what we're going to do. About a minute of it. Got our nice stone wash finish on there. Maker's mark standing out. Just that nice texture, and the ricotta sewing up into the flats there. I love the way a good stone wash looks. Alright, so now what I need to do is go ahead and get the scales set up for this. We're going to be using a couple materials that I think y'all are going to like, so let's go ahead and jump into that. Alright, now that we got everything cut out, I did go through and profile these just a little bit to get them closer to the size of the tang, and then I cut these out. Now these were cut out just like this, so there was no need to really show that again. But we got all our pieces. Let's go ahead and try and fit them together a little bit. I know it's going to be a little snug, but we'll see how it goes. So we got it fit together. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring y'all up real quick and we'll do the outro and I'll talk more about what's going on here. Alright guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up with an explanation on why I picked some of the materials that I picked. So, of course, we went with the carbon fiber for that exposed layer, and then this awesome burl wood right here. It just looks beautiful. And the reason behind the whole entire makeup right here is I wanted to do something that was slightly different than what people do and still have that, you know, the Rivers Experience feel. And that's what we did on here. So we've got the wood, the liners, black micarta pins. Everything's going to flow real well together. I love the way the striations look on this to where it actually flows with the handle. And the cool thing is, this is kind of deceiving. You think that that's how the wood's going to look, but it's going to look more like this. You see how beautiful that is? That's what it's going to look like whenever it's actually buffed up and polished and everything. So it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Now in the front here, we are going to be, of course, putting a bevel on this edge. It's not going to be just this sharp edge going straight down into here and this sharper edge going straight down into there. It's going to kind of waterfall its way, so they're going to be beveled down into the ricasso area. We're going to put a beautiful handle profile on this. It's going to be a really, really, really nice, comfortable knife, and I think it's just going to look awesome all together. But I'm always interested in what y'all think about the materials that I picked on this. Like all my knives, you know, I always do something slightly different, and that was the goal for this. Do y'all think it's going to be successful? Do y'all think that this is the right direction for this? Now, one thing I do want to mention, the carbon fiber is not going to be satin finish like that. I am going to be buffing it. It is going to be polished. It's going to stand out a little more so that it doesn't kind of drown out the tone inside here. So you don't want to leave it like this because it doesn't stand out at all. So this is going to be a little bit more black so that it actually pops a little more against the gray tone here. So y'all will see that whenever we actually get it all put together. Now, in the next episode that we're going to be working on this knife, we're going to go ahead and get the handle finished. So it's going to be attached, profiled, all that stuff. If I can, I'll go ahead and sharpen it, and we'll just finish the blade section of this. And then the episode after that that's dedicated to this will be dedicated to the leather sheath that I'm going to make for this. I've been on a leather kick lately, and I think that a leather sheath would just make sense for a beautiful knife like this. Now, the next Shop Talk Tuesday episode will probably be shop related because we've got to get some more work done on that. The rain's kind of working its way out, so we'll be able to go ahead and start doing some more work to that. So if I can get it done by this weekend, I'll go ahead and release the video for finishing up the blade part of this build. So, well, I say blade part, but the build, the handle, the blade, all that stuff, and then kind of go from there. But we'll play that by ear. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. If y'all would, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there, and I'll catch y'all next time.